a wingspan that rivals a football field. 6 engines, 640 tons thundering down the runway. A single aircraft that could lift cargo heavier than a freight train into the sky. It shouldn't exist, but it flew. This is just one of 5 aircraft ever built so massive, they shattered every known limit of flight, and each one was created for a completely different reason. Number 5. A cargo jet so big, it can swallow the parts of another airplane whole. The Boeing Dreamlifter is not a Cold War relic or a military secret. It was born from a modern problem. 7 Dreamliner's giant wings and fuselage sections were too large for trains, trucks, or ships to move quickly. The answer was to take a classic 747, cut it open, and rebuild it around the cargo. The result is a machine that looks almost cartoonish. Its bulging fuselage stretches nearly 19 meters wide inside, wide enough to fit 3 city buses side by side. The swing tail opens up like a giant clamshell, letting forklifts drive straight in with cargo sections as long as a subway car. Each Dreamlifter can haul 112 tons at a time, roughly the weight of a blue whale, flying between Boeing's global suppliers and final assembly plants. Its first flight came on September 9, 2006. Since then, the Dreamlifter fleet has logged more than 30,000 hours, moving jetliner parts across oceans in less than a day. 6 of these giants remain active, shuttling between continents on a near-constant loop. Unlike the military leviathans that came before, the Dreamlifter is a creature of commerce, a flying warehouse built for the age of global supply chains. And it is still flying, quietly powering the world's busiest airplane factory. Next up, a very different kind of giant, built not for business, but for power. Number 4. The Antonov An-124 Ruslan is a machine built for an era when the world's superpowers raced to move not just goods, but entire armies and industries across continents. In 1982, the first An-124 thundered down a Ukrainian runway, its wings 73 meters across, stretching wider than 2 soccer fields. The Soviets needed a transporter that could swallow tanks, mobile missile launchers, even power plant turbines, cargo too heavy and too large for any other plane of its time. Inside, the cargo bay runs 36 meters long. Imagine a city bus parked end-to-end 4 times, with room to spare. The deck is strong enough to carry 150 tons, the weight of a blue whale and a diesel locomotive combined. But it is not just about brute force. The An-124's engineers gave it a trick landing gear, kneeling hydraulics that let the nose dip down, flattening the loading ramp so tanks or trucks can roll straight in. No cranes, no special ground crew, just open the nose, lower the gear, and let gravity do the work. 55 of these giants were built, and more than half are still flying today. They have hauled everything from humanitarian aid in Rwanda to entire train bridges in Central Asia. In 2015, one An-124 carried a 120-ton turbine generator to Kazakhstan, a Guinness World Record for regular service airlift. Decades after its Cold War debut, the Ruslan still rules the skies as the largest cargo aircraft in active global service. But across the ocean, another nation was building its own answer, a rival even the Soviets had to respect. Number 3. The Lockheed C-5 Galaxy is a machine built for global reach, an aircraft so immense it can move an entire armored brigade halfway around the world in a single leap. First flown on June 30, 1968, the C-5 stretches more than 75 meters nose to tail, longer than a blue whale, and nearly as wide as an Olympic pool is long. Its wings span almost 68 meters, and when fully loaded, the Galaxy tips the scales at 381 tons, heavier than 500 family cars combined. Inside, the cargo bay runs nearly 37 meters, tall enough to stack 2 city buses and long enough for tanks, helicopters, or even another aircraft. The Galaxy's signature feature is its drive-through loading system. Both nose and tail swing open, letting vehicles roll straight in, no turning required. During Operation Desert Shield in 1990, a single C-5 carried 24 M1 Abrams tanks, enough firepower to equip a battalion. In just one mission, it delivered what would have taken dozens of smaller planes. The C-5's 4 massive engines, each generating over 270 kilonewtons of thrust, lift 122 tons of cargo at a time. That is the weight of a diesel locomotive, or nearly 30 African elephants. Over 130 Galaxies have been built, and more than 100 still serve with the U.S. Air Force, upgraded as the C-5M Super Galaxy. These giants have flown into war zones, disaster areas, and remote outposts, dropping supplies where no other plane could reach. The C-5 isn't just big, it's a force multiplier, turning distance into a minor obstacle. But not every giant was built for battle. Some were born from a different kind of ambition, a vision that traded steel for wood and war for spectacle. Number 2. The Hughes H-4 Hercules, better known as the Spruce Goose, defies every rule about what an airplane should be. Conceived in the chaos of World War II, when aluminum was locked away for fighters and bombers, Howard Hughes set out to build the world's largest flying boat almost entirely from wood. His engineers layered thin sheets of birch with glue and resin, a process called Duramold, pressing each piece under heat and pressure until the giant's bones took shape. The result? A wingspan of 97.5 meters, longer than a football field, and still the greatest of any aircraft ever to fly. 8 roaring radial engines lined the wings, each one spinning a propeller taller than a man. The hull could have carried 750 troops or a Sherman tank across the Atlantic, skimming just above the waves to dodge German U-boats. But by the time the Spruce Goose was finished, the war was over and its mission had vanished. Only one was ever built. On November 2nd, 1947, with reporters and skeptics watching, Howard Hughes climbed into the cockpit. He pushed the throttles forward, and the wooden behemoth lifted off the water, just for a mile, just for a minute, never higher than 21 meters. But it flew. That single flight turned the Spruce Goose from a punchline into a legend. The aircraft was never flown again. Today, it rests in Oregon, preserved as a monument to ambition, scarcity, and the wild dreams of an era when nothing seemed too big to try. Next, the only machine that would ever surpass its wingspan, and the undisputed king of payload. A team of Ukrainian engineers faced a challenge no one else had solved: how to move a space shuttle heavier than a locomotive and longer than a blue whale. The Antonov An-225 Mriya was their answer. Conceived in the early 1980s, its mission was to carry the Buran space shuttle and the massive rocket boosters needed for the Soviet space program. Nothing on Earth could match its appetite for weight and size. Its wings stretched 88 meters, wider than 4 soccer fields. Its fuselage measured 84 meters from nose to tail, longer than 16 city trams lined up. 6 engines, each as powerful as a locomotive, lifted a maximum takeoff weight of 640 tons, more than 250 family cars combined. The cargo bay alone could swallow over 90 shipping containers. On December 21, 1988, the Mriya took flight for the first time, dwarfing everything that had come before. Designed not just as a plane, but as a moving launch pad for the cosmos, it stood as the ultimate triumph of Soviet engineering ambition. Flight crews called it the Mriya, the dream, because it could carry what no other aircraft could even attempt. In 2016, it set a world record, hauling a single 247-ton generator from Prague to Australia. That is more weight than 35 African elephants, lifted and flown halfway around the planet in one piece. Relief missions, giant turbines, locomotives. If it was too big or too heavy for any other plane, the Mriya answered the call. Charter companies and engineers worldwide relied on its power, and aviation fans tracked its every move online. But on March 2nd, 2022, during fighting at Hostomel Airport, the Mriya was destroyed. The world's largest aircraft, gone in a single morning. For the crews who flew her and the millions who watched in awe, the loss is more than metal and engines. It is the end of an era and a reminder that even giants can be fragile. These giants once redefined what flight could mean. Now, as new technologies challenge old limits, their legacy shapes every bold design on the drawing board. The age of colossal aircraft isn't over, it is evolving. Somewhere, the next record breaker is already taking shape. What do you think it will look like?